Well, welcome to the 27th edition of the European 10,000 metres Cup. We've just had the European Athletics hymn, and now the 21 countries who are going to be represented here. Led out by Austria, followed very closely by Belgium. Austria represented in the men's race by Timo Hinterdorfer. Belgium sending a very strong team indeed. Belgium could well be in contention for team medals, and in the women's race, two very good athletes, Jana van Lent and the European half marathon champion, Chloe Herbiot. Great Britain, Northern Ireland, traditionally one of the stronger teams, but not sent some of their top runners here this year. But we've also seen Denmark and Ireland. Well, Ephraim Gidey, can he take gold in the men's 10,000 metres coming up a little bit later? We've also had Bulgaria. They just didn't catch Bulgaria there. Israel. And the Netherlands as well. Netherlands, of course, great tradition in long distance running. Latvia, you can see their maroon striped flag. Agatha Skauner will be coming up in the women's race later on. Norway, well, no Jakob Ingebrigtsen here, although he could have probably certainly make a challenge for a 10,000 metres gold, but they're well represented and very strong teams indeed from Spain in both the men's and the women's race. We'll be looking for Spain to get on the podium, both in the team competitions and in the men's race. Well, they have some outstanding runners, including three-time former silver medalist Jesus Ramos. Ukraine. And finishing off France. Well, France in the men's race, we'll be looking at the likes of Felix Boer and Valentin Gondouin. Gondouin taking a half marathon bronze medal at the European Running Championships little more than a month ago, just over the border in Belgium. So here's the 21 nations. Brought 72 athletes in total here, 33 men and 39 women. Parade with some of the athletes from the local running club, Pacé en Courant. Very famous athletics club in France, and this, of course, being Pacé and the Stade Chazeboeuf, which I'm told means ox hunting in French. 10,000 metre running very much in its DNA. It's been the venue for the French National Championships on many occasions, and also the last two editions of the European 10,000 metres Cup as well in 2022 and 2023. Hiatus last year, of course, as the 10,000 metres was in the European Athletics Championships. And that packed home stand. Good conditions in Pacé this evening for what we hope will be some fast times. It's about 16, 17 degrees at the moment, overcast, very slight breeze, but no rain expected. If you're looking at the forecast, the rain's going to tumble down across Brittany tomorrow and onwards into next week, but we're saved today as we hear the French national anthem. Well, following on from Jean Gracia, the French Federation president and Vice President of European Athletics, Loic Rapinel, the president of the local running club, Pacé en 40, who are the local organisers for this edition of the European 10,000 metres Cup. As you can see there, it's quite breezy. I'm just wondering what effect that's going to have on the times. There's not much shelter in this stadium, the Stade Chaseboeuf. It's quite open. Visited it a few years ago. Wonderful running track, and it's a quick running track, but the wind, the breeze, hopefully it's not going to have too much of a detrimental effect, because one of the purposes of this cup is to go for quick times. Now, the Europeans looking as well to get good positions on the World Athletics rankings, which will qualify them for the World Championships in Tokyo, coming up later this year in September. Qualifying marks, really tough qualifying marks. 27 minutes exactly in the men's race, 30 minutes and 20 seconds in the women's 10,000 metres. Not too many Europeans are going to be dipping under that time. Well, to be honest, not many outside of perhaps Kenya and Ethiopia and maybe a few Ugandans. But it does open up lots of slots for Europeans to qualify for Tokyo on the ranking system. And World Athletics are looking to put about 27 runners into each of the 10,000 metre races in Tokyo. So there's lots of opportunities for the likes of Ephraim Gidai and Felix Burr, the men I've mentioned, as well as Nils Voigt from Germany. We'll be looking at the German champion, recently minted, and I think Voigt could well be up there as well this year. Just to give you a bit of a rundown as far as the timetable's concerned, well, we get underway with the first of 4 races very shortly. The B race in the women's 10,000 metres, and that will get started at 19:20, so just 10 minutes to wait. And then 20:05 local time, that's Central European time, 2 hours ahead of GMT. We have the men's B race, 20:45, the women's A race, and then 21:30. The men's A race. The B races are important, not just for runners trying to get personal best times, but they can also contribute. They do score, and the first 3 athletes for a nation in terms of combined times will count towards the team standings. And it's slightly unusual, but it has happened on various occasions in the past that a runner in the B race has had a great race, contributed to their team score, and ended up getting their country, or at least helping their country, onto the podium. Well, just a little bit of a hiatus as there's prize giving for some of the domestic races that we had here in Pacé a little bit earlier on this afternoon. Well, those were the medalists in the women's under-20 race, and perhaps we'll see them once again when we get to the European Athletics Under-20 Championships, which this year will be coming up in Tampere in Finland between the 6th to the 9th of August. And just as a reminder, if you're just joining us a little bit late, well, live results will also be available on the European Athletics website, which, if you're watching this program, I'm sure you know where it is, but let me just remind you, it's www.european-athletics.com. Well, you can see there on the infield, the temperature is at around 16, 17 degrees, but the wind chill factor, well, you see everybody wrapped up. Nobody's stripped down to their T-shirts. So you saw there the start list with the 20 women who are going to be going in the first of two races over 25 laps of the track. And the woman to keep an eye on, Anna Arnaudot, the Italian. A little bit surprised to see her seeded into this race, but that's possibly a reflection on the fact that she failed to finish her two last major championship outings, including the 2023 European 10,000 metre Cup and the 10,000 metres at last year's European Athletics Championships. But she did run under 32 minutes last year in London, and she's by far and away on paper the quickest woman in this field. You can see season's best alongside some of the runners. Also worth keeping an eye on as well, the Ukrainian Victoria Kalushna. Kalushna has been running well recently. Won the Poznan half marathon. Took the Ukraine 10,000 meters title in 32:58, somewhat unchallenged. And she could well be up there as well, challenging for honours. Quite a few athletes making their debut at this distance, including Victoria Wapi. So in this race, we've got 4 Ukrainians, 3 Turks. One of a very strong Spanish team, Maria Jose Perez. No human pacer in this race, but, and we'll talk about it, there will be wave lights. And the leading wave light of green is set for 32.5 minutes. That's a pretty tough time for these women to beat. Last 2 B races at this European 10,000 meter cup, one in just outside of 33 minutes. But there's also a white wave light at 33 minutes and a red wave light at 33.5. A little bit difficult for us to see the wave lights with this camera, and in the bright sunlight, well, it's not that bright, but you know what I mean, at least the bright lights. Much easier to see wave lights at those meetings in the evening when the floodlights are on. So straight to the 4. It's the Ukrainian. Nyazhnik. Nyazhnik was actually a European Athletics Championships bronze medalist back in 2012. Personal best dates from that particular event in Helsinki, 31:51. Hasn't been in that sort of form in recent times, but of course we also know how difficult it is for Ukraine athletes at the moment, given the situation in their country. Other 2 Ukrainians up there as well at the moment. Shkurko, Mazarenko, as well as Kalushna, who I've mentioned. Poland's Olympia Briza, reigning Polish champion over 10,000 meters, also up there as well at this stage. So we'll see how this race is unraveling at about the 1 kilometer mark. But a good pace at the moment set by Nyazhnik. So they'll pass the 1 kilometre at what's usually considered the 200 metre start around the back straight. That'll give us a very good idea of the pace at this stage. And they are moving quickly at the moment, which is quite good. I'm sure there'll be some personal bests in here, without a doubt. Kalushna deciding to take up the gauntlet. 3:14.70 at 1 kilometre. Well, if you've got your pace charts in front of you, you'll know that's it's inside 32:30 pace. So that's very quick over that first kilometre. Already this field has slimmed down. So the 19 women, I did notice there was a DNS on the start list. There's just 9 of them in that single file group in front. Kalushna, well, looking around, see where everybody is. But, she's doing a good job at the front, is Kalushna, at the moment. So the 4 Ukrainians up there, Warpy, Honordu, 2 of the athletes who we thought were going to do well in this race. Also Seto of Turkey. Nasena Seto. Just 23 years of age, the Turk. Tacked on towards the back of this group. And this pace is really starting to spread them out. Well, Kalyushna doing well at the moment. She's really pulling the rest of the women along at a very, very good pace. So 21 laps to go, lapping really well at the moment. Blonde hair of Shkrukot, tucked in behind a taller compatriot, Kalushna. Looks as though the Ukrainians have decided to share the pace, just looking at the way that Kalushna moved out into lane 2, let the others come through. Mazarenko up there as well. I have to say, tacked onto the back. Anna Arnoardo, looking as though she's struggling a little bit. She's starting to get slightly detached, which is a little bit of a surprise. So coming through. This is very quick indeed for this caliber of athlete. Coming through for 2 kilometers. 6:27. Well, that's just outside 32 minutes exactly pace. So 6:27 equates to 3:32:15 pace. If these women can carry on, there's going to be a spate of personal bests, which is really encouraging. In Ukraine, well, the way that they're running, it would be quite a feat if they could actually get on the podium with their entire quartet in the B race. But at the moment, they're really doing a very, very good job. Keep an eye on the 3 kilometer time. Anything inside 9:40 indicates a very good pace indeed. I haven't looked up the record for a European 10,000 meter cut B race, but this is a very strong run indeed from the 3 Ukrainians up front. And Olympia Breeze has tacked herself on the back of it. Well, Breezer, personal best of 33:13:22, which she did in the Polish capital Warsaw almost exactly a month ago to the day. And she is looking as though she's going to smash her personal best as well. Mazarenko, personal best of 34.5 minutes. It really does make you wonder whether they can keep going at this sort of pace. Shkurko, personal best of 33.06 as well. So this is certainly personal best pace for these leading runners, this leading group of 4. And a bit of a gap starting to open up back to Kuner and the early leader Niaznik. $18 laps to go. Well, past 3 kilometres, halfway down the back straight. This is a good pace being set by the Ukrainians at this stage. Mazarenko, 27 years of age. Perhaps an indication of the form that she was in is that she finished 5th in the half marathon at the European Running Championships at the start of last month. Well, this race is starting to really become an entertaining spectacle. You don't often see this at the European 10,000 metre Cup B races, but this is really good running, helped by the fact that there was 3 Ukrainians at the front. Kalyushna, Mazarenko and Shkurko swapping the lead. I'd love to know whether they discussed team tactics beforehand. It's difficult to see the wave lights, but I think they're being helped by the wave lights being set at 32:30. You heard the infield announcer referring to them. It's difficult for us on the TV screen to see those wave lights, but they are right up with the green lights, and those are set at 32:30. Well, the pace has slowed a little bit over the last couple of laps, allowing Seto and Warpy to get up there as well, to rejoin them. Nasena Seto hails from Istanbul. Was 13th in the half marathon at the European Running Championships, so a little way behind the likes of Mazarenko. And of course, we will see the winner of the half marathon coming up in the A race a little bit later on. Chloe Herbelot, the Belgian, and we're very excited to see what she can do over 25 laps of the track. At the moment, Warpy at the back of that group, and I'm sure she'll be a contributor to the Belgian team standings. Three Belgians in the race, but Warpy at the moment is also having a very good run. She's going to really take apart her personal best. And Shkurko goes to the front again. So the next useful checkpoint will be the 5 kilometre mark. And once again, the pace has increased with Shkurko going to the front. Seto's got up there as Brazier starts to drift back a little bit. The pole. Daylight between the leading quartet now and Warpy and Brazier. I think Brazier's race is run. She's starting to look very tired. The pole in 6th place at the moment. But there's no sense that there's any tiredness in the legs of the 3 Ukrainians at the front. This is a superb race from the Ukrainians. Shkurko looking very effective at the front. 27 years of age now, Victoria Shkurko. Finished down in 50th place in the 10-kilometre race in Leuven at the European Running Championships. We're having a much better run here. Best international performance was finishing 7th at the 2019 European Under-23s, but she's having a good race here, Shkurko. Now, Mazarenko going to the fore once again. So, 12 laps to go, 13 to be completed. Very close to the halfway point now. Just going through in around 15:35. We'll get a 5-kilometre check mark very shortly. Well, Seto set a personal best of 33:18, the Turk at the back of the quartet. Earlier this month, just 3 weeks ago. So she's come back to racing very, very quickly. Pace has slowed after those quick early kilometres, but it's 13:35 pace at the moment, which is good. So this is still going to be a very, very good pace. And these women looking at personal best times. As Mazarenko goes to the fore again. So 6 kilometres. Looking for something in the region of 19:35. At the moment, they're just fractionally behind the green lights. The green lights are starting to just move a little bit away from them. It's very difficult to see on your TV screens. Do appreciate that. Well, this is a superb run at this stage from Mazarenko. She did have a very good half marathon recently as well. In Padova, came second in the Padova half marathon in 72 minutes. Mazarenko. Kalyushna going through the line. 11 laps to go now. When they come through next time of asking, they'll have completed 6 kilometres. Still a long, long way to go. But it looks as though there's a lot of running, certainly in the leading 2 Ukrainians. Shkurko now starting to just lose a little bit of contact. Seto, though, having an outstanding performance. So Seto's been coming good over the course of the last couple of months. Now they're all grouped together. Looks as though the pace is just slowing very slightly. So we're drifting back from those 78-second laps. You can hear the infield announcer scribbling down the notes on her pad. It's a little bit quicker than that, but it has been slowing. They've been clocking 80-second laps over the course of the last couple of laps. Still inside 33 minutes, though, which is quicker than recent B races. So it's at around 33.45 pace at the 32.45 pace at the moment. So Seto having a very best international performance. She finished 50th and then improved to 21st in the under-23 race at the last two European cross-country championships. This is a very good performance, though, from Seto. Kalyushna now starting to drift just a little bit away from getting a personal best, but Mazarenko still well inside that time of 34.5 minutes that she ran just a short while ago, just about a month ago on home soil in Uzhhorod. You can see now, though, that behind them, well, the gaps are really starting to open up. 2 3-woman groups established at the front. Now Seto starting to push the pace, increase the pace quite a bit now. So 3,200 meters for the leading group, and they're starting to lap some of the back markers now. Seto drifting around a couple of the Italian runners. I should say a couple of the Swiss runners. I do apologise. Seto's increased the pace now. Well, over the years, we've had a number of Turkish winners. Elvan Eblegassi winning 3 times in the mid-noughties. 2 years ago, Yasmin Chan taking victory here on this track in Pacé. So we've got the 3 women in front, and then going back to a pack of 3, group of 3, with Shkurko, Whoopi and Brazier. Well, Brazier looked as though she was starting to unravel a little bit a couple of kilometres ago, but has clearly gone through a bad patch, tacked herself on the back of that second chasing group. And they're not that far away at the moment. And the women behind them as well, looking as though they'd be well on course for some personal best times. Well, I think your results were slightly astray because Halabi Kablan, the Israeli, I think has been lapped there. So a slight bit of confusion. But this is once again really good running at the front from Nosena Seto. But you do feel as though Mazurenko and Kalushna are just tracking her, just waiting for the moment. Seto doesn't have the most efficient running styles, and she's just looking behind her just to see what's going on. No, they're still on your shoulder. Well, that's Anna Arnaud being lapped. That's a big surprise. Arnaud struggling. So we're coming up to the 8-kilometer mark. And Seto's really pushed the pace over the course of the last 26:08:55. So that's back into sub 32:30 pace again. They're up with the green lights. I should perhaps leave it to the infield commentator to give you all the information. She's doing a wonderful job of keeping everybody informed. But Nosena Seto starting to grimace, but there's still 7.5 laps to go. The two Ukrainians as well, for the first time, starting to look a bit tired, starting to look a bit tense across the shoulders. So Kalyushna now going past Mazurenko. She wants to cover the move by Seto. Kalyushna. Now, there's been a definite surge over this lap. Let's see what the time is with 7 laps to go. So that is a 69-second lap. That's quick. I should say a 79 lap. My maths is a bit skew with, but nevertheless, that's tacked onto a couple of other quick preceding laps around the 78-79 mark. Got them back under sub 32:30 pace. Well, now it's about half a lap back to Warpy in 5th place. Victoria Shkurko is in no man's land a little bit. That's another 78-second lap. Mazurenko now looks as though her race is run. She's just got to focus now over these remaining laps and just keep going. But she's still on course for a massive personal best. And Shkurko, her compatriot, just looking as though she might be lapped very shortly. But Seto and Kalyushna looking as though now this is the two women who are going to be battling for first and second place in this competition. Can't say silver and gold because, of course, this is the B race. Results will be amalgamated with the A race later. These are good times. Just compare it with the winning times of recent past. Well, 2 years ago, Alina Ray, in difficult conditions, won the A race in 32.15. And now, Kalushina picks up the pace as well. She's going around the pole. Brazier, who showed earlier in the race, but from middle stage of the race, is starting to struggle. Seto now being dropped. And Kalyushna starting to use these lapped athletes as targets. Pushing hard. As you see there, Brazier and Shkurko treading water now. So 1 lap to go for Victoria Kalushna. Kalushna now starting to pour it on. She knows a big personal best could well be on the cards. 32.39, it's the countdown now. Seto also seemingly assured of a big personal best. Mazurenko as well. That's the 1, 2, 3 in this race. Just coming up for 200 meters to go for Victoria Kalushna as the stadium announcer exhorts the crowd to get behind the Ukrainian. Well, what a terrific run from Kalushna. She's coming around now with just 150 meters to go. Kalushna knows she just needs to pick up the pace just a little bit. She's striving for that personal best. Keep an eye on the clock. Personal best is 3:32.39. And Kalushna is going to just get inside that. Yes. She's taken a personal best by about 8 seconds. Seto, personal best by about a minute. Now let's see. Mazurenko. Mazurenko now speeding. She's edged over to the third lane. Mazurenko. Well, hi, mate. Mazurenko taking more than a minute off her best as well. Terrific run from the Ukrainians in first and third. That looks like Shkurko coming through for fourth place. That won't be a personal best for her, but a good run nevertheless. Be nice to keep the clock running. I wonder if the French director can hear. It's personal best for the first three women home. Kalushna taking about 9 seconds off her personal best. Seto about a minute off her best. Mazarenko about a minute and a half off her best. Shkurko not quite. What a pity. Nevertheless, a good run by the Ukrainian in fourth place. Just waiting for the rest of the times. Now, some of the lapped athletes starting to come home. Warpy. Well, that could be a very important contribution to the Belgian times, depending on how things go in the first race. The A race, I should say. I think we need to confirm that Israeli time. Not too sure. I'm just wondering whether there's an error there in the Israeli time looking down, but we'll bring you confirmation of that later on. And a host of personal bests further down the line. Shout out for Devora Avramova. Well, she's personal best before was just inside 35 minutes. She's taken more than a minute off her personal best, the Bulgarian, in 8th place. And 3 of the Swiss women were making their debuts, so of course they will be rewarded with personal bests. Their debut over 25 laps of the track, I should explain. So 32, 30, 35. That's a really good standard for a B race at a European 10,000 metre cup women's B race. Hasn't been a time under 33 minutes for quite a few editions. And there we saw several women getting under 32 minutes. Rewarded with a whole host of personal bests as well. Of course, won't be able to give you an update on team standings until the A race has been concluded. So the men's B race is scheduled to get underway in about 9 minutes' time. We'll just take a very short break from commentary for a few minutes. Join us again in about 5 minutes' time. So you saw some of the leading athletes presented for that B race, including the very last man on the out of the changing rooms, Miguel Marquez. Portuguese athlete. Personal best time just inside 29 minutes, but I think we will realistically be looking at some of the other men on the start line. Ahmed Weeder, as you can hear, being introduced by the stadium announcer, man who we might well be looking to do very well indeed with a personal best of 28.18. 3 Italians in this B race. Also Nassim Hasius of Spain, another man under 28.5 minutes. He might be another man to look out for. Also very interesting competitor as well, the 20-year-old Lucas Erler in the centre of your picture there, in the yellow German vest. Well, Erler, former European under-20 mountain running champion, won 2 medals at last year's mountain running championships while still a teenager, but running in the senior races. Just wondering what he can do on the track. No boulders. It's all fairly stable underfoot. We do have a pacer as well in this race. Mohin Udala. He's a 2:06.49 marathon man. 60:26 half marathon runner. So I'm sure he can do a fine job indeed for these athletes. So the 16 competitors and 1 pacer just getting ready now. We'll be utilising what's now become very familiar, I'm sure, to people who follow athletics, the double echelon start. Just 6 men asked to go a little bit further down the track. Now, just as a point of reference, 2 years ago in Pacé, the B race for the men was won by Sweden's Mohamed Reza Aboradi in 29:04. But there's plenty of men here who can go a fair bit quicker than that. Only Sutala leading them out at this stage, and one of the expected main protagonists, the Spaniard Hasius, following in his footsteps very quickly. Well, that's a quick 65-second opening lap. That is very swift indeed. That puts him on course at the moment for a sub 27:30. Not too sure he's going to be able to maintain that for very long. Guida Asano, the two Italians just behind him. Guida, as we were looking at, one of the other men who's run very quick on paper. A little bit further back, Asano, and then Lucas Erler, who we mentioned. Alfieri. Point to be made is that, of course, Spain, the most successful country ever in the history of the European 10,000 metres Cup. 24 gold medals, both individual and team. Previous winners from Spain, including the Cup record holder, Fabian Roncero, who ran 27:14 back in 1998, and that stayed as the record ever since then from the second edition. So when we get to the A race, be interesting to see whether any of the men can get close to that mark. Ephraim Gidai was talking to the Irish media that he fancied going quick in this race. He's already set an Irish record, so we'll see whether he can deliver on his words. But this, of course, is the B race. Well, 3:22 going through 3 laps by my calculation. That's very quick indeed at this stage. That's 67-68 pace at the moment. And that is really setting them up at these early stages for a 37, I should say 27:30 finishing time. Well, that's certainly, if keeps on going like this, going to revise quite a lot of personal bests, which of course is one of the purposes of this cup and has been since the outset. And Hacias, I think I can hear him saying to Udala, just keep it up, push the pace a little bit. He doesn't want the men behind him, even though they're in single file, coming up on his shoulder. The two Italians, Guida and Asano. On paper, very dangerous indeed. Long procession around the track. So when they come through this time, they'll have gone through 2 kilometres. Well, the pace has slowed over that last lap. Just dip back a little bit. 5:39. Well, that's still 27:40 pace, very roughly. So it's still Hacias at the front. Hails from Las Palmas in the Canary Islands. Now 31 years of age. According to my notes, a former history student at the University of Adelaide. 3:42 1500 metre man a few years ago, so that's effectively a sub 4 minute miler for those people who are still thinking imperial measurements. He's got a good turn of speed at the end of this race if it does come down to a sprint finish. Behind him, Weeder, Urbano. Now, Alfieri also come up to join the group. So the wave lights, which is a little bit difficult to see, set on 28:15, and the athletes right on it. After that brisk opening couple of laps, it's drifted back a little bit, settled down. So they're still lapping quite comfortably at 68-second laps, there or thereabouts. So good pace being set by the man at the front, Witala. It's going to be personal best all the way down the line if they keep up this pace. Hassius finishing 13th in the half marathon in the European Running Championships. Tall athlete, slightly stuttering stride, but effective nevertheless. Behind him it's Weeder, Urbano. The Belgian Grimard has moved up. He's the reigning Belgian champion, actually, over 10,000 metres. We'll see, though, perhaps the number one Belgian, Simon de Boyne, in the A race. De Boyne didn't contest last year's national championships. Grimard, a best of 28:34. That came just earlier this month. I do apologise, Grimard. That personal best time was set in May last year. So the pace ticking over nicely at the moment. So 11 laps undertaken. 14 to go at this stage. And it's still, as far as the cup is concerned, Hassius leading the two Italians, Weeder and Urbano. Hassius has also got some very quick times over 3,000 metres as well. 7:43 man outdoors. Well, Witala earning his money here, doing very well indeed. He's a very good roadman over the marathon and half marathon distance. Hasn't cracked 28 minutes though for the 10,000 metres, so I just wonder how many laps he's going to last for. So 4 kilometres in 11:19. It's a bit early for the 4 kilometre mark. I think comes up fairly shortly. So not really very much change in the order. Everybody really just focusing, staying where they're at. Hassius, Wieder, Grimard's moved up in between the two Italians, got in between Wieder and Urbano. So that was a 69 lap there. Pace just slowing just ever so slightly. They're just a little bit outside of the wave lights at the moment. You can see there the lights in front of them, but they're struggling very slightly to stay up with that. Those 68 laps, which would have delivered them 28.15, have now started to become 69 laps. But Witala still up there, still doing a fine job at the front, the Moroccan. De Flanders moved up. It looks as though Urbano is just struggling just a little bit. Has to be said, Wieder looks very composed at the moment, as does Hassius at the front. So just stepping up to one side, Witala, as we come up to the halfway mark. 14.08. Well, the math's fairly easy. That's 28.17 pace at the moment. So good running at this stage. Personal bests are going to be certainly achieved here. Grimard's moved up as well. So the men behind them, including Wieder, Delflanche and Urbano, not able to keep up with the pace that's now been set. The pacemaker's gone and the racing starts here. Well, many people think that the 10,000 metres only really starts over the last 10 laps. We haven't reached that point yet. Hassius looking at his watch. Just wondering what's going through his mind at the moment, whether he's making those mental calculations about what he needs to come home in a personal best time and perhaps help the Spanish team in the team standings. Well, the Spanish team, it's been a few years since they took the team title. Last time was 2018, 2017 as well. So 11 laps to go. When they come through the next lap, it'll be 6 kilometres that have been undertaken. But it's at the moment a two-man race between Hassius and Grimard. Well, the Belgian having an outstanding run as well. Personal best of 28.34. He's running 20 seconds inside that. He's running about a second a lap quicker than he's ever done before. Hails from Leuven, which of course was where the focus of attention was during the European Running Championships. I'm sure he was watching that. Hasn't got quite as quick short distance times to his name. So 16:57 at 6 kilometres. So 16:57 equates to almost exactly 28:15 pace. So those wave lights are helping the men at the front achieve their aims of personal best times. Alfieri now moving through nicely. He's doing a really good job, Luca Alfieri. Well, Luca Alfieri, we've seen quite a lot of him over the years. Seen him at European Age Group Championships. Physiotherapist. Came rather distant 30th at the European Running Championships, over 10 kilometres on the road. Alfieri, but doing much better here. Alfieri, long way behind the leading pair though, and it's now Grimard, who must be feeling good at this stage, as he's taking the pace and pushing it quite hard. I just wonder whether he's done the homework and realises that the man behind him, Hassius, is much quicker over 1,500 metres and 3,000 metres. But this prolonged attritional running has caused a little bit of daylight between the Belgian at the front and Hassius. Well, we weren't really reckoning on seeing Grimard up there, but he's having a great run. So 8 laps to go. And it's looking as though Hassius is starting to get dropped. I'm just wondering how far behind Alfieri is. Well, he's a long way behind. He's not even come into camera shot yet. He's leading that group of 4, which includes De Flander, Erle, and Ursano. Ursano hanging on at the back, starting to drift backwards a little bit. Erle having a good run. Running well inside 29 minutes, the 20-year-old. Just wondering whether we're going to see him at the European Under-23 Championships. Of course, made his name as a mountain runner and a trail runner, but making a successful transition, the German, who's about 50-odd metres back from Guillaume Grimard at the front. So Grimard still doing extremely well. Pace ticking over nicely. Just gone through and Hassius. Hassius still looks fairly relaxed though. Breathing a bit hard and his shoulders are swaying a little bit. Well, De Flandre, where's Erle? I didn't see Erle in that group as we switched back to the chasing group behind the leading pair. I saw Alfieri and Urbano, but I didn't see Erle. So Haseas obviously just going through a bad patch. And Haseas now is turning the tables on Grimard. Grimard now starting to look a bit leaden in his legs. So Haseas just turning the tables now, just chose the moment to pounce. Now Haseas starting to pull away from Grimard, the Belgian. Haseas, a very familiar face in the Spanish cross-country teams. We've seen him at Spa European Cross-Country Championships on a number of occasions in the last few years. Finished 7th. I was going to say, finished 7th at the last European Cross-Country Championships. And 7th back in 2021 as well. So he's got good credentials on the continental stage, Nassim Haseas. And he's working really hard now. So he's going to come up and see the lap counter saying 6 laps to go. And he's really thrown down the gauntlet. Guillaume Grimard has got nothing to answer him. That was a super quick lap. So 4 laps to go. I think I said 6, but it is 4 laps to go. So Haseas picking up the pace. Behind them, there's a battle. I didn't see earlier, but the diminutive German is in there. And now, well, Grimard is looking very, very tired indeed. And it's indeed another Belgium who moves into 2nd place. De Flandre. De Flandre now starting to pick up the pace behind the flying Haseas. So 3 laps to go for Haseas, 1,200 metres. But De Flandre is starting to close on Haseas. Haseas now looking very tired indeed. De Flandre is towing Erler and Asano behind him to very good times indeed, really pulling them along. Well, De Flandre, better known as a steeplechaser, 3 times Belgian champion over the barriers. His personal best is outside 29 minutes. That came at this event back in 2021. But Haseas coming around with 2 laps to go. Haseas, though, looking at a really good time. Just needs to hold his form over these 2 laps. So he's looking at around 28:30 still. But he is certainly tiring. He's struggling a little bit, Haseas. Personal best came last year, 28:27:78. And De Flandre now starting to try and close the gap. He's got 600 metres to do it. This is going to be a thrilling lap and a half in this B race. You don't get B races this exciting that often. Erla now starting to drift back a little bit along with Asano. But the gap is really closing, and it's closing very quickly between Clement de Flandre and Nassim Hassayas. Nassim Hassayas now, with 1 lap to go, is treading water. Well, on your screen you can see it's down to about 13, 14, 15 metres. This is the Latvian who's just about to get lapped. Hugis Josic. Looks as though Asano now pulling away from Erla. It's looking as though De Flandre now, he's got the bit between his teeth. He can sense that Nassim Hassayas is there for the taking, and he goes past him with about 200 metres to go, and Hassayas has got nothing left in his legs. De Flandre now, he's flying, he's going through the gears. The Belgian has timed his attack to perfection over the course of the last kilometre and a half. Firstly, moving up, closing the gap, and then attacking. Well, Clement de Flandre, a massive personal best for de Flandre by about 45 seconds. Hassayas about 10 seconds outside of his. What a thrilling finale to that B race. Asano just a little bit outside of his best, about 15 seconds outside of his best. Marquez is getting, well, I didn't see Marquez come through the line. He must have, over that last lap, come through so strongly, Marquez. Erla, 28:40. Well, it's tiring over the last 2 laps. The young German, who we know so much about from his exploits as a mountain runner, but a good performance nevertheless. So personal best for 3 of the top 5. Clement de Flandre reducing his best to 28:30:91 as the rest of the men come home. Well, the back markers coming through. Personal best as well for the Norwegian, Vestag Varnes. Great Britain's Alfie Manthorpe. Personal best for him as well. Manthorpe paying his own way to come to Pacé. The British are not going to finance a team, but Manthorpe decided it was worth dipping into his piggy bank to come here, and he's rewarded with a personal best. Still a few back markers to come home. But what a superb finale to that B race. Well, if the A races are anything like as exciting as that, it will be a wonderful climax to this 27th edition of the European 10,000 metres Cup. The women's race scheduled to start in about 5 minutes, and that'll be the A race. The team standings will be decided after that. But we saw some really good times in the women's B race just over half an hour ago. Well, Clement de Flandre confirmed the winner, 28:30:91. Nassim Hassayas second, Luca Asano third in that B race. Wondering whether Hassayas and Asano will be contributing towards their team scores. Ahmed Wieder eventually failed to finish. He was up there for the first half of the race, the Italian. But in the end, one of the men that we were expecting decided to call it a day midway through the race. So we'll just take a break for about 5 minutes. Well, we just missed there Chloe Herbier, the European Running Championships half marathon winner. But here's the Italian squad, including Federica Del Bueno. Familiar figure to anybody who was watching the European under-20s 2 years ago. Agata Kaunas out there in the Latvian vest. God, it's like trying to herd cats, isn't it? There's the Spanish duo of Alicia Basolsa and Esther Navarrete. And there's the Turkish duo of Yonka Kutluk and Bahar Ildirim. So 20 racers in this, as well as the pacemaker, Sukaina Atanan. 5 French women in this race as well, and I think they'll feature quite extensively. Philippe Delabine, Coralie Mamori, Celia Tabat, Alessia Szabo, and Melody Julien. One woman we didn't see there, Eva Dietrich. The only German competitor, but the fastest woman on current form, 31:45.18. Stands third on the European 2025 rankings at the moment, having finished second in the German Championships with that personal best of 31:45. Elena Burkhardt, German national champion, focusing on events further down the season. So the wave lives, the pace has been set for 31:30. That's 75.5 second pace. Now we can start talking about the team title as well. 7 countries having sent teams of at least 3 women. Belgium, Spain, Italy, France, Ukraine, Turkey and Switzerland. Well, Germany, 2-time reigning champions, they haven't sent a team, sadly, to defend their title. Nor has Britain, who won it three times before that. Spain won it in 2013. Will they regain their title? Italy, who could well be the champions on paper at least, they last won it in 2011. And it will be a new name on the Roll of Honour for the European 10,000 metre Cup. No previous winners in this year's race. Alina Ray won it 2 years ago for Germany in quite difficult conditions. 32:15.47 for Ray, but I think we're going to see something a bit quicker here this year. Remembering that prior to that, Yasmin Chan won it in 31:20, Eilish McColgan 31:19, and then Stephanie 12, 31:08. So we are expecting something in the low 31s. And despite there being a slight breeze, it doesn't seem to be affecting the runners too much. These are good conditions, as we've seen from the B races, for quick 10,000 metre running. And the 20 women are away. Keep a close eye on the laps. We've seen from the B races, these tend to be quite quick starts. We've got a pacemaker in there. The Moroccan, Sukaina Atanan, which is a 31:21 10K runner on the roads. And it's got a 2:24 marathon to her credit as well. We expect her to go through to the halfway point, and then the racing begins. And the Moroccan towing them around. It's a really good pace. This is a quick pace from the Moroccan. Goes through the line in around 76 seconds. That's a little bit quicker than the wave lights, which have been set for 31:30. And not surprisingly, the women behind her starting to struggle to keep up with the pacemaker. It's Mamori of France. Mamori, a 4:19 1500 metre runner, so she's got good turn of pace over the shorter distances. Hails from the Dessin Mayo Athletisme Club, Mamori, which we've seen lots of at the European Clubs Cross-Country Championships, which is traditionally held in February. Del Bueno, Federica Del Bueno, the fastest woman in the field at 31:25. Well, she was fourth, just missed out on a medal at last year's European Athletics Championships over 10 kilometres, 10,000 metres on the track, which is when she set a personal best. Well, I'm afraid the pacemaker isn't helping a great deal, unlike her counterpart in the B race. Atanan, well, she's not helping the rest of the runners behind her. She's looking over the shoulder, but could do a lot more to help them. Agata Skauner is up there as well, the super talented Latvian, now 20 years of age. Looking forward to seeing her at the European Under-23 Championships coming up in Bergen, and that'll be live streamed via European Athletics channels as well. Indeed, the next live streams we've got, so the European Team Championships coming up in Madrid between the 26th to the 29th of June. I do hope I've got my dates right there. I'm just remembering off the top of my head. But then that follows with the European Under-23 Championships coming to you from Bergen in Norway and the European Under-20 Championships from Tampere in Finland. So 3:50 through 3 laps. The runners are now up with the pacemaker. Not sure whether she got any signals from the sidelines just to slow it down a little bit. And it's Agata Skauner up front, at least until August, the reigning under-20 3,000 metre and 5,000 metre champion. Ran under 32 minutes in a mixed race when she was just 18 years of age, Skauner. Federica Del Bueno, the experienced Italian, back in 2015, got a bronze medal at the European Indoor Championships over 1,500 metres. Del Bueno gradually moved through the distances, but that indicates that if it was to come down to a sprint finish, she might be one to watch. Then the two very good Belgians, Jana van Lent and Chloe Herbier. Van Lent, this year, she's already set Belgian half marathon and 5,000 metre records on the track. Well, the Belgian 10,000 metre records is in the low 31s. It's quite a tall order to try and beat Marlene Render's famous mark of 31:03, which has been on the record book since 2000, so coming up for 25 years. But Herbier and Van Lent, well, it may not be tonight, but they're certainly going to have a tilt at it for sure in the near future. Palmero, 6th in the European Athletics Championships last year as well. Ildrum, the good Turk. So that's a real quality lineup in the leading places at the moment. Eva Dieterich. And now Skauner leading the racing group. 6:22 through 2 kilometres with 20 laps to go. It's good running from Skauner at the front. There's never been a Latvian medalist of any description at this Cup. Not in 26 years. Wonder if this year, the 27th edition, could see a Latvian on the podium and perhaps have the Latvian national anthem ring out over Brittany. So well inside 32-minute pace at the moment. That's around 31.50 pace for Agata Skauner. Atanan, I don't think she's doing a really good job, much of a good job of pacing, I have to be honest. But behind her, they're doing a good job of racing as Federica Del Bueno moves up. So that's a 79 lap. So a little bit slower than the previous laps, but Del Bueno takes the chance just to move up. Van Lent also going past Skauner. The women really having to do their own pacemaking. Atanan not helping a great deal. We saw some really good pacemaking in the men's B race from Atula, but not so much from Atanan here. So Del Bueno leading the Cup contenders. Van Len, Palmero has moved up. Skauner moved back at the moment. Herbier's got a personal best of 32.15 from last year. She said that she's coming here to run inside 32 minutes after somewhat surprising win at the... So that's a 76 lap from the pacemaker. A little bit slower from the women behind her. As I was saying, Herbier currently in 5th place overall at the moment, including the pacemaker, looking for a time inside 32 minutes following on from that slightly surprising win, but obviously inspired by it being on home soil. And just looking at her social media account, she's absolutely buoyant, and she's been training well in the French Pyrenees as well at altitude. Jana van Lent, though, last year had a personal best of 31.59. Herbier 2 years ago was in 5th place in that race won by Alina Ray. She's the leading finisher from Pacé 2 years ago to return to this race. So that was about a 78-second lap. So a little bit slower than the preceding one. Still Del Bueno leading the serious protagonist for this Cup competition. And Del Bueno, it has to be said, she hasn't run a lot of 10,000 metre races, but she's the fastest woman in this field and a vastly experienced racer at major international championships. And once again, Atanana pulling away. I've never seen the pacemaker once look at a watch. I wonder if she knows what she's really supposed to be doing. So Atanani goes through. in about 11:30. The rest of the women about 2 seconds in arrears. She's just looking over her shoulder, the pacemaker. And Del Bueno's moving up a little bit. Well, I don't know whether that's supposed to be encouraging. At the moment, you couldn't really tell who's winning the team competition. Just look at that. Well, the Italians, Del Bueno and Palmero, are up there, but it depends where their third scorers. They've got Sara Nestler and Rebecca Lonedo in this race as well. So that's another 76 lap from the pacemaker. And I think it's probably around a 76 for the women behind there. So 12:46 for 4 kilometres means that that's around 31:50 pace. But we've got 6 women up in the front. Skauner's drifted back now, and there's a big 30-metre gap back to Skauner in 8th place in this race, 7th overall. 2 Spaniards up there in that chasing group as well. The 2 Spaniards, Bezosa and Navarrete. Chasing group running in the low 32s at the moment. So 78 lap from the pacer. Very slightly quicker, perhaps about a 77 from the women behind her as the gap has slightly closed up. Still Del Bueno leading the race. Van Lent, Palmero, Herbier. Certainly all 4 names we're expecting to see up there at this stage. Ildren perhaps less so. But the Turkish runner doing well. Ildren, reigning national champion over this distance though. Improved a personal best to 32.56. The Turk, and is looking just like her compatriot Seto in the first race to absolutely smash it at this race, at this rate. So good overhead shot there. Del Bueno, Van Lent, Palmero, Herbier, Ildrum, Dietrich. Those are the 6 women behind Atanana at the moment. So that was about a 77 lap. So they're racing extremely consistently. 77, 78 laps. Still around the 32-minute mark for these women. So considerably slower than recent championships. I'm wondering whether the wind's just picked up a little bit. You can see there the banners around the track starting to blow perhaps a little bit more wildly than they were during the B races. But it wouldn't be a surprise to see these women run a strong negative split. Now, Atanan still in there, very much so, as we see Van Lent moving up to move in front of the 2 Italians now. Herbier Ilderim and Dieterich still looking very, very happy indeed, though. So the pacemaker moves to one side, and now the racing begins with 12 laps to go. A bit further back, it's Zabo's come through, Verbrugen's come through. They've still got a huge distance to make up on this leading group of 6 women. Now it'd be very interesting to see who takes the pace at this stage. Van Lent at the moment. Del Bueno, well, she led the group standing off the pacemaker for several kilometres, between 3 and 5 kilometres. But it's Van Lent now. There's been no change in that leading group of 6. It's still Jana Van Lent working really hard. Agatha Schauner, we were expecting to see her up there, but Schauner seems to be struggling quite a bit just looking down the field. Van Lent set a Belgian 10-kilometre record on the roads in Cannes in the south of France in February, and added to her accolades with a Belgian 5,000 metres record of 15:02 in Brussels last weekend. This is a good run from Van Lent. I think she was hoping to get on the podium at the European Running Championships, finish 5th. But in 4th place is the woman who did win the half marathon at those running championships. And it's the 2 Belgians, bookmarking the 2 Italians, and then Dieterich and Ilderim off the back of that leading group. So 19:10 at 6 kilometres. Gets them bang on 32-minute pace. Just wondering whether we're going to see a bit of a speeding up over the course of this second half of the race as we get into the final third. Now Del Bueno's picked it up, and picked it up very, very strongly. I think Del Bueno doesn't want to let the chance of a personal best go begging. Of course, there were superb conditions, and she was roared round the Olympic Stadium in Rome last June when she finished 4th. But she's now starting to push the pace and pick it up a bit. This is a quick lap indeed. So another 78 lap. But still this group together at the moment. Del Bueno. Well, she's got the shorter distance credentials as well. Over 1,500 metres and 3,000 metres. Van Lent, that recent Belgian record over 5,000 metres just 7 days ago. Palmero, one of the quickest women in this field, 31:38, her personal best, again set in Rome last year. Herbier on course to take some time off her personal best at the moment. The European half marathon champion in 4th place at the moment. Dieterich, 31:45 runner. She needs to pick up the pace if she's to get a personal best. And now Szabo has crossed the gap and got herself on the back of that group. That's an excellent run from Szabo, Alessia Szabo. Back in 2018, when we were in Yor, took the European under-18 bronze medal over 3,000 metres. Student at the University of Oregon, that athletics mecca in the United States, Alessia Szabo. Personal best of 32:28. That came back in 2022. She was only 20 years of age, but Frenchwoman is having a really good race here. Then quite a distance back to the Spaniard Esther Navet. But it's now Van Lent in front. Del Bueno struggling just a little bit at this stage. Like many runners, seems to be going through just a bit of a bad patch at the moment. 7 laps to go. So around 2.5 kilometers now. And Van Lent still pushing the pace. Dieterich, who looked tired and looked as though she was struggling just a lap ago, has moved past Herbier, Palmero and Del Bueno to tuck herself in at 2nd place. And there's starting to be gaps opening up now. Van Lent, a couple of meters to Dieterich, and then a couple more meters back to Herbier. And then it's the 2 Italians. Ildrum starting to struggle. Szabo getting the cheers as she moves up, the Frenchwoman in 6th place. I make that a 72 second lap, 73 unofficially. So a really quick lap there from Van Lent. And she's starting to break away. I'm wondering whether that move will be the decisive one. You can see moving at quite a different pace to the women behind her, and the gap is continuing to open up now. It's about 15 meters very quickly back to Dieterich. Herbier just focusing. She knows that she'll be rewarded with at least a personal best if she tucks in behind Dieterich. But Van Lent now looking as though she's starting to really work hard and get away. Jana Van Lent going through the line. 5 laps to go. 8 kilometers in 25. So she's got it back into sub 32 minute pace. And Dieterich now starting to drift further and further back from Jana Van Lent. Van Lent now starting to lap some of the back markers in this very good quality race. There you can see the gap continuing to open up between Jana van Lent and Dieterich. So that's another very quick lap indeed, 72 seconds. Van Lent is starting to pour it on, just 4 laps of the Stade Chasseurboeuf, the Ox Hunting Bowl. Overtaking Lanedo now. Lanedo has been lapped. At the moment, it's looking as though it's the Italians on the way to that team title that they last won more than a decade ago. But Jana van Lent, well, there's no one being able to keep pace with her after she poured it on and made that decisive move with little more than 8 kilometres to go. There are the women in second, third and fourth place. Dieterich, Herbier and Szabo. The two Italians, Palmero and Del Bueno, drifting further back. Huge cheers, though, every time the infield announcer, though, mentions the name of Alessia Szabo. She's 23 years of age, just stepped out of the under-23 ranks. But this is Jana van Lent. Now she's passing Agatha Schauner. Schauner looking very leaden, looking very tired. We know Schauner's very talented, but it looks as though she's going to have a fair bit of work to do in the coming months or so to make an impact in the under-23 ranks. Van Lent pouring it on. So Van Lent coming down the home straight. Less than a kilometre now to go. Just 800 metres, 2 laps to go. Goes through in 29.11. So we're looking at around 31.40 for the winning time. If Jana van Lent can keep this going, maybe even a fraction faster. And the big question as far as the team title is concerned is, where is the third Belgian? Where is Hannah Verbruggen? Because Belgium would have a fighting chance of a team title. There's never been a Belgian individual winner, man or woman, in this cup. Belgium did win the team title. Oof. Just looking it up now. Back in 2006, same year that Elvin Eblagassi set the current cup record of 30:21:67. Well, that's not going to happen. Schauner's about 80 seconds off that pace, though. So Schauner could well come through in around 31. Van Lent could well come through in about 31.30 if she can keep maintaining her form. Behind her, it's going to be a terrific race for second place. Herbier now starting to move away from Szabo. Dieterich has gone, the German, out of the reckoning. But it's 100 metres between the women who are going to be on second and third place on the podium. And Jana van Lent. Van Lent, barring disasters, is racing away with just 200 metres to go to the European Cup 10,000 metres title. So it's still Van Lent, and she's starting to accelerate, pick up the pace. She's certainly on course for taking about 30 seconds off a personal best, and it's going to be personal best for the two women behind her. So Jana van Lent comes down the home straight for the very last time, overtaking back markers. Just keep an eye on the clock. She doesn't ease up. She's still going strong. It's going to be 31:32:27. A personal best by no less than 27 seconds for the very first individual winner of the European 10,000 metres Cup from Belgium, Jana van Lent. So, around behind her, Alessia Szabo, breaking 32 minutes for the very first time in her career. Herbier, also under 32 minutes. Dieterich, just outside her personal best that she recently set at the German 10,000 metre championships. So what a great race that was over the closing laps. Palmero, well, about 30 seconds outside of her best. So let's keep an eye on the times. We'll do a bit of scribbling down now. The Italians have got 2 home as well now. Well, Alicia Berzosa coming through very strongly to get a personal best. We didn't see very much of Berzosa or Nestola over the final few laps, indeed the final few kilometres, but the Spaniard in 8th and Nestola in 9th. I think that Verbruggen comes through for 10th in a personal best, and I think that's good enough just to give the Belgians the team title ahead of the Italians. Let's just wait for confirmation. There was 14 seconds between the pair of them, but I think that's good enough for Belgium just to, by only a handful of seconds, take the team title from Italy. Likely to be France taking 3rd place in the team competition. So what a great day for Belgium in this women's event in the European 10,000 metres Cup. Jana van Lent taking gold. Chloe Herbier bronze. And I do think it's Belgium taking the team title. There you go, Hanna Verbruggen. Well, a major contributor to Belgium, I believe, taking the team title. Give you confirmation of that very shortly, though. What a terrific race. And Alessia Szabo, 2nd in the individual race. And I think she'll be on the podium as well, with France taking probably the bronze medal in the team competition. So Jana van Lent confirmed 31:32:20. Alessia Szabo 31:50. Chloe Herbier 31:54. Personal best for the leading 3 home, the medalists, and a few other personal bests as well, not least of which for Hanna Verbruggen, taking 55 seconds off her best, the Belgian in 10th. And that was so important as far as the team competition is concerned. Now, let's see if we can crank the machine and get those team standings out as well. Might have to wait a minute or two for those. There we go. So by just over 38 seconds, Belgium do indeed take a team title. They have only won once before, back in 2006. Italy following them home, and France, the hosts, will be on the podium. Ukraine just missing out, despite all their runners being in the B race. So a few words from Jana van Lent. Hopefully we can pick them up. Well, we're here from Jana van Lent. Here's the lineup for the men's A race as well. Belgium, Simon de Boyne. He, I would imagine, is going to be one of the main protagonists. Very strong French team, including Felix Bourg, Valentin Gondouin, Florian Lepalanque, who's just finished his university studies at Butler University in the United States, but perhaps the favourite for the title on current form, Ephraim Gidai. Gidai has had a tremendous few months. So we're just waiting for the entrance of the men who will contest the 10,000 metres. This 27th edition of the European Cup 10,000 metres. Here we are. So the fourth of the European Cup races this evening. I hope you're enjoying it so far. Dusk starting to fall on Pacé in Brittany, in the northwest of France, which has been our wonderful host for the last 3 editions of this European 10,000 metre Cup. Event presentation crew just marshalling the men behind the screen. 17 runners in this race, but we've got 2 pacers as well. We're just getting ready to go, I think. Well, the wave lights have been set for 27:30, which is a 66-second lapse. Jana van Lent managed to stay up with the wave lights, which had been set for 31:30 in the women's race, knocking out, well, quicker than 70-second laps. Let's see if the men can do likewise. Recent winners, well, 2 years ago it was Yamani Bahan Kripa, 28:08. Jimmy Gressier was a magnificent winner on a slightly warmer day back in 2022, attacking the European Cup record and the French national record, just missing both with 27:24:51. Another French winner in 2021, Mourad Amdouni, 27:23. And Yamani Bahan Kripa got the first of his titles, 27:49 for the very strong Italian runner. No Kripa this year, though. 2 good Italians in the shape of Francesco Guerra and Johannes Cipanelli. And here they are. Slight delay in proceedings. Not much, though. So coming through, Dorian Boulvan. Well, he saw his compatriot Clement de Flandre winning the B race. Wonder what Boulvan can do. Simon De Boino up there as well. Two very good Italians, Francesco Guerra and Ciappinelli. There's the Spaniards. Mencho Lajeras, former European champion, over 5,000 meters, Elias FIFA. Chiqui Perez, Juan Antonio Perez, to give him his full name, and the three-time silver medalist in this event, Jesus Ramos. And here's the French. Félix Bour, Baptiste Gouillon, Valentin Gondouin, and Simon Bedard. Well, France have already got medals from the women's race. Can their male counterparts emulate them? Well, I think that looks about it. No, everybody's out there. Okay, here we go. Lot of handshakes and congratulations in the olive green vest. You just saw him briefly there. Ephraim Gidey of Ireland. Well, Ireland have never won a title at this European 10,000 metres Cup. Is this going to be Ephraim Gidey's moment? Well, Gidey is the only man on the list of entrants who's broken 28 minutes this year. Gidey, well, had a terrific outing in Valencia when he set an Irish record of 27:43, breaking a record which had stood for 40 years to the Irish running icon and Olympic medalist John Tracy. Then Gidey went off to California, ran in the famous 10,000 metre races in San Juan Capistrano and set an Irish record of 27:26.95. And that's what he's also going to be aiming at reducing here. He's talked about breaking 27 minutes. I don't think that's realistically on the cards. But it wouldn't be a surprise if he shaved a few seconds off that Irish record over the course of the next half an hour. Pacemakers just trying to sort themselves out. Some discussion as to who's going to go up on the second start line. You can see on the back there the two men on the right-hand side of the first start line, the two pacers. That's Martin Kiprotich from Uganda. He's a 27:28 man on the roads, so he's got good pace. And Othmani El Gumri, 13:13 on the track for 5,000 metres. Was 9th in the Olympic Games marathon back in 2021 in Tokyo. So they're the man that are going to take the pace through in around 13:45 we expect, aiming for 27.5 minutes. And they're away. 7th edition of the European 10,000 metres Cup, the very last race in Pacé, gets underway. 25 laps of the track. And is immediately El Gumri gets to the front. Well, we've had Moroccan pacemakers in the previous two races. Uthala in the men's race did a fine job. Their compatriot in the women's race less so, I feel. Here's Martin Kiprotich. Young 23-year-old Ugandan. And it's Gondwin who's tucked himself in behind two pacers, and then Gidai. Well, Gondwin and Gidai know each other very well. Gondwin sprinted past Gidai for a medal in the closing stages of the European Running Championships half marathon. Gondwin eventually finishing third and Gidai fourth. Gidai very frustrated by that. Said he struggled with stitch over the final kilometres in that race in Louvain back at the beginning of April. He's looking to make amends here. Gondwin, well, fifth at the last European 10,000 metres Cup 2 years ago. So Giffray tucks himself in the front, Gondwan behind him, and then the three Spaniards, Jesus Ramos, Eduardo Menacho and Ilas FIFA. Spain, the most successful country in the history of the European 10,000 metres Cup. 24 golds, accompanied with 26 silver and 19 bronze for a total of 69 medals. No medals in the women's race to add to that tally, but wonder if they can get on the podium in either the individual or team races here. So Martin Kiprotich takes them through 3 laps. And the pace has reduced the field to running in single file. They're not bunched at all. So they are bang on the wave lights. So they're running at 27:30 pace at the moment. Now it's getting a bit darker. Perhaps you're able to see them. It wasn't easier a bit earlier. Kiprotich doing a fine job. Keeping the pace going. Now it's Gondwan back in front. The French team have advertised the fact that they're looking to reclaim their team title in this event, one that they won in 2021 and 2022. So Gondwan, in addition to his other credentials, finished third in the Seville half marathon back in January in 60:17. That's very useful form. Jesus Ramos in 5th place at the moment, third in the cup race, 3-time silver medalist. He's now 36, 29 years of age. Finished 5th in the 10K at the European Running Championships. Ramos, who's in 3rd at the moment. Menacho, European under-23 champion over this distance in Tallinn 4 years ago, as dusk starts to fall on Pacé. running just inside 27:30 pace at the moment. It was around 5:42 for that last kilometre, maybe a bit fraction quicker. Now Felix Burr, sub 2:07 marathon runner, has moved up over that lap into second place. So 19 laps to go. Also starting to show Simon de Boyner. De Boyner, now 28 years of age, the Belgian, who's moved up into fourth place. You can see there the white vest. Well, I wonder what's going through his mind after seeing the Belgians do so well in the women's cup competition. Jana van Lent winning, the Belgian women winning, helped by Chloe Herbier in third place as well. So Kiprotich leading them through. That's a 66 lap for Kiprotich and the rest of the men behind him. So still just inside 27:30 pace. But it's still Kiprotich doing a good job over the last few laps of keeping the tempo going. There you can see they're right on those green lights. Finally, as the night starts to close gently in on Pacé, we can see the lights. It wasn't so easy earlier. And we expect Kiprotich and El Gumri to go through to about 5,000 meters, maybe a fraction longer. But Gidey running very comfortably, very steadily at the moment. So that was a 65 lap. The Spaniards all bunched together there. But it's still Gidey doing well at the front. He's on course to attack his Irish record and personal best at the moment. Gumray, well, struggling a little bit, as you might expect from a marathon runner. Helped things along in the early stage of the race, so that first few kilometres. Kiprotich still pulling them along. Now a gap starting to appear between the first two, Gidey and Boer. That's happened only over the last 200 or 300 meters. So 67 lap there. And it's Gidey and Boer up front. De Boyner up into third place in the race, swapping around with Gondoan, as you can see there, and then the Spanish Armada just behind them. Four of their squad, including the former European 5,000 meter champion Elis FIFA. Well, I'm expecting to see this a quick lap because the gap is starting to appear between Gidey, Boer and the rest. Another Well, that was 66 seconds, so still going really quickly. And we've seen from the previous races, they've been tending to run negative splits. This ball augurs well for some very quick times. Ball looking very strong at the moment. Well, the stadium announcers exhorting the crowd to get behind Boer and the rest of the French athletes, but it's still Gaudet leading the way at the moment. I think that's another 66-second lap as well. Now you can see that they're staying with the wave lights. They're on 27:30 pace. 13:13 with 13 laps to go. Certain symmetry to all of that. So it's Gidai, Boer, and Gondwyn. And just like with the women's A race, it's looking as though there's going to be quite a few personal bests set here. $13.46 at the halfway point. Well, you can do the math, 27:32. But we do expect it to speed up over the closing kilometres. And Martin Kiprotich doing an excellent job of pacing them. Of course, the wave lights certainly help. So 14:20 through the finish line. That's a 67 lap. Perfect pacing from Kiprotich. Gidai and Boer still in the lead. It's been Gidai who's been working hard just behind Kiprotich over the last few laps. Boer's tucked in behind him, looking very comfortable indeed. It has to be said, so do the men just a little bit further back, about 20 metres back. De Bruyne, Gondwyn. Well, Boer, now 31 years of age, has really been focusing on the roads. Disappointing to come home 50th in the marathon last year, having run sub 2:07, but in the Olympic marathon he was hoping to do better in front of family and friends in Paris last summer, but nevertheless a quality athlete. We've seen him finish in the top 10 at the Spa European Cross Country Championships. Gidai, of course, a medalist at that event as well in the age groups. Took the under-20 bronze medal back in 2019. Oh, it's really starting to hot up now. De Boyner's got back up with them, and that gap between the two chasers, Gondwyn and FIFA, is not getting any larger. So you've got three men at the front. Kiprotich sticking in there. Now he's decided to come to one side. So 10 laps to go. It's gone through 6 kilometers in 16:35. That's just very slightly outside 27:30 pace. It's more around 27:40 pace. Gidai wanting help. Flagged that Boer should come through and do his share of the work. De Boyner's up there as well. Just wondering what Gidai's thinking at the moment then. Is he just going to go for the cut win? Doesn't have noted short distance speed, but there neither does Boer. These are men who are really endurance experts rather than like some of the women able to claim good 1500 meter speed. So it's Boer, Gidai, De Boyner and Gondwan. And then a get back to the four Spaniards all in a row. FIFA, Manacho, Ramos and Las Heras. FIFA up there, now starting to get detached. Behind him, quite a way back, about 50 metres further back. It's they're coming round the bend. Manacho, Ramos and Las Heras. Now Gidai goes back to the front again. He doesn't want to let the pace drop, that's for sure. Casting a glance at Boer. Boer looking very comfortable at this stage. But the pace has just dropped. It's allowed FIFA to get back up in contact with that quartet at the front. With Gidai looking for help and Boer's not prepared to really put pedal to the metal and accelerate, it's allowed FIFA back into the equation, and there's now a five-man group up there. FIFA, the former European champion, has to be said, is a certain cloud over Elas FIFA, having served a 4-year drug ban, but let's deal with what we're looking at the moment. Now Gidai, 8 laps to go. So now Felix Boer takes his turn at the front. Gidai just eases off. De Boyner in second place at the moment. There's 5 men in that group, including Gondwan. So De Boyner now helping out with the pace. I think that'll be appreciated by the men behind him. So that was a 66 lap. So the pace has picked up just a little bit again. And FIFA starting to struggle once the pace has increased. 2 laps ago, the pace dropped, allowed FIFA to get back in, but that sudden increase by Boer and then De Boyner, looking as though they're dropping the Spaniard, and it's De Boyner and Boer up the front at the moment. Well, De Boyner looking to try and reduce his personal best of 27:57. On course at the moment. So De Boyner's taken that lap all the way through. That's another 66-second lap from De Bruyne. Now De Bruyne really cranking it up. It's come through very strongly. Didn't go with the audacious early pace. Only Guinée and Boer did that. Gondouin tucked on the back. He's having a good run as well. At the moment, also on course for perhaps shaving a few seconds off his personal best. Well, the pace has dropped just a little bit. Coming through with 5 laps to go, 2 kilometers to go. 22:15 means that they're at around, by my calculations, 22:45, 27:45, 27:50 pace. Felix Boer, best of 27:27:11. So there's men there who can run faster, can pick up the pace. Ephraim Guédai. They've still got 2 kilometers to go. They can get it back on course with some quick laps to that 27:30 mark. But they're starting to lose just a little bit of contact with those green lights. And De Bruyne's looking for some help. So that's a 68 lap. That's not going to help get up on that target time of 27:30. But all 4 men looking very, very good at this stage. Gondouin perhaps tucked in the back, hasn't really contributed. Gondouin now looking strong at the front. But how much taking the pace will have taken out of him? That's the big debating point now. So about 3.5 minutes of racing left. And it's Simon De Bruyne of Belgium, Ephraim Guédai of Ireland, and then Felix Boer and Valentin Gondouin of France. Belgium, Ireland, France and France. It's looking as though the medals are going to be decided between these 4 men. So still De Bruyne in the front as they go through. Going to be reaching the last kilometre when they go through past the 200-metre start. I think that's Baptiste Gouillon who was in the picture there. Former European under-20 steeplechase medalist. This is his debut at the distance, struggling a little bit. So 25:03 at 9 kilometres. So at the moment, this is around 27:45 pace. 2 laps to go. Now Guinea moves to the front. Is this going to be the decisive attack? He's not going to let it to chance this time. Boer's starting to struggle, but the man who bested him in Belgium Valentin Gondouan has moved up to second place, but he's not closing the gap on Gidai. Gidai is really flying around this circuit. He's running this like a middle distance runner, and he's coming up with 1 lap to go. Ephraim Gidai is on his way to gold for Ireland. .26.39. So he's looking at around a 27.40 something, low 27.40s. It's not going to be a personal best for Ephraim Gidai, but he struck at absolutely the right moment with 600 metres to gold. Ireland have never won a gold at the European 10,000 metres Cup before. This is looking like it could be a victory for the ages for Ireland. Well, they've got such a fantastic distance running tradition for such a small population. Ephraim Gidai is now well on his way. Valentin Gondouan now looking as though he's struggling. It's Felix Boer in second place. Gidai's coming through. Gidai knows he's got it. 2 Frenchmen behind him. Felix Boer in silver at the moment. But Ephraim Gidai takes gold for Ireland. Well, I have to say, it's looking as though it's 27.47. Might be a shade quicker than that. There was a timing issue. What a pity. But we'll bring you up to date with the results. But Ephraim Gidai takes gold for Ireland. Well, he's run faster, but that's his first major senior international medal, and that'll be celebrated in Ireland. 27.40.47. Just under 2 seconds behind Valentin Gondouan. Out sprinted Felix Boer. You don't want to bet against Gondouan when there's a sprint for the medals. He'd beat Gidai with a sprint for the line in the half marathon in Belgium at the start of last month. This time he gets the silver medal, beating his own teammate Felix de Boer. Simon de Boyne slipped off the pace a bit, but he's rewarded with a personal best by 9 seconds. Eduardo Menacho, former European under-23 champion, gets a personal best in 5th. However, what I can say is that even though they couldn't take individual gold, the team gold will go to France. No doubt about that, with 3 men in the top 6. What a superb bit of packing. 4 men in the top 7 indeed. So indeed France, as was their aim, did regain the title they won in 2021 and 2022. As the rest of the teams coming through, I think it might well be Spain that takes the silver medals with that packing. Menacho, Perez, and the 3-time, I think I said Perez was a 3-time silver medalist earlier in the stream. No, it's Ramos, but that's good packing by the Spaniards in 10th, 11th and 12th. Not quite sure who will have taken the bronze medals in the team competition. And you can see the French celebrating confirmation of the leading results. Led home by Ephraim Gidai, 27.40.47. No Irish record, but a gold medal will be hung around the young Irishman's neck. Valentin Gondouan, a second medal on a continental stage in 6 weeks. And Felix Boer makes it 2 Frenchmen on the podium, taking the bronze. Elias FIFA, who showed, didn't finish, but good results from the Spaniards. And there indeed, confirmation. France, Belgium just sneaked in by no less than 7 seconds. That isn't much when you're talking about 3 accumulated scores of 10,000 metres, just pipping the Spaniards. So it's France, Belgium and Spain. What a great evening it's been for the Belgians, winning both the women's European 10,000 metres cup, both as individuals, thanks to Jana van Lent, and as a team competition. Well, as we see the French team, they now know that they've got the gold medals, taking the plaudits from the host crowd. It's time for me, Phil Minchell, to say goodnight. We hope you've enjoyed this coverage of the European 10,000 metres Cup, coming to you from Pacé. The French team celebrating with the Irish individual winner, Ephraim Gidai. What a great evening's racing over 25 laps of the track. We hope you've enjoyed it, but stay with European Athletics for more live streams over the course of the next months. We've got the European Team Championships coming up from Madrid between the 26th to the 29th of June, followed in the coming months by the European Under-20 Championships from Bergen in Norway, and then the Under-23 Championships, and then the Under-20 Championships coming to you from Tampere in Finland in August, between the 6th to the 9th. And in addition to that, we've got approximately 20 World Athletics Continental Tour silver and bronze meetings coming up via the European Athletics channels. We hope you have enjoyed this evening's athletics, though. It's been a fantastic evening of running. Thank you and good night.